The drummers were already loud when the glass doors swung open. Balloons in powder blue and cream floated under the ceiling. A banner read, "Welcome, Baby Adebayo," in glittery letters. Malik stood at the center of the hall like a new king, his palm pressed to Brianna's rounded belly as guests cheered. Phones pointed. Afro beats mixed with gospel on the speakers. Aunties in jail lined up at the buffet. Everyone wanted to be seen, everyone smiling, and Malik loved it. Then the room paused. Walking through the doorway were two small children, twins, boy and girl, maybe 5 years old, in matching white sneakers that blinked with tiny lights. They held hands like they were the last two people on earth. Between them and behind them came a woman in a simple mustard dress and a denim jacket. Her hair was in thick twists. She moved with the quiet of someone who no longer needed the room to approve her. Her name was Imani, Malik's ex-wife. The twins looked up at the balloon cloud and said in the innocent chorus of children seeing magic, "Wow." Every camera lowered, every auntie stopped mid-gossip. A boy from the DJ table swallowed hard and dialed down the music until the beat became a hush. The scent of jollof and suya seemed to hang, uncertain where to go. Brianna's smile wobbled. "Who is that?" Malik didn't answer, because even from across the room he saw it, the little boy's dimple, the same dimple that sat like a secret on Malik's left cheek. The soft half-moon birthmark below the girl's ear, exactly like his grandmother's. Those were not coincidences. Those were mirrors. Imani held her chin high. The twins, dressed in fresh Ankara print vests over white tees, stepped forward. The boy squeezed his sister's hand. Their eyes were wide, not afraid, just curious, like they had wandered into a storybook. "Good afternoon," Imani said when she reached the center. Her voice was calm, the kind of calm that made people listen. "Congratulations." Brianna tried to laugh, but it broke in the middle. "Thank you. I guess. Are you lost, sweetheart? This is a private event." Imani nodded. "We were invited." "By who?" Everyone knew the answer before anyone said it. They turned to Malik. He had invited her. He had sent a glossy evite with a private message. "Come see what you couldn't give me. Come and clap for me. Wear your best smile." He had crafted it out of pride and pain. He told friends it would be closure. He told himself it would be funny even. He said it would help her move on. Then he bought a designer agbada and a custom cake and hired a photographer who specialized in moments that go viral. Now the photographer held the lens at his hip, unsure. "Imani," he said at last, trying to twist the shock off his face. "You look, well." She looked better than well. Her skin glowed like Sunday sun, like someone who had slept, eaten, laughed without asking permission. The twins hid a little behind her legs, then peered around, sizing him up. The boy had the serious posture of a tiny gentleman. The girl's eyes sparkled like mischief wrapped in sugar. "Thank you," Imani said. "I brought a gift." She set down a neat white box tied with blue ribbon. "And I brought the truth." The room exhaled in one long whisper. Aunties pinched each other's elbows. Uncles stepped closer, ready to mediate or ignite. Malik's mother, Mama Adebayo, rose from her chair by the front table, her wrapper rustling like thunder. She had blessed the cake only minutes ago. She had prayed in Yoruba, thanking God for fruit, for continuity, for a woman like Brianna who could open the door that was locked. She had not expected this. "Truth?" Malik repeated, but his voice came out thin, out. Imani's eyes softened, and for a heartbeat he saw the woman he had married, the girl from Howard who studied at the library until midnight and still brought him hot puff-puff from a food truck. The girl who danced with him in the kitchen when the rent was late and the future was foggy, but their love was clear. "Meet Ayo and Amara," she said, touching the twins' shoulders. "They have been asking to meet their father." Silence tore the hall. The balloon arch seemed to lean closer to hear what would come next. Brianna's hand slipped from Malik's. "What is she talking about?" He could not answer. His throat closed. Because the math did not make sense until it did. He and Imani had divorced 3 years ago after 2 years of doctors saying unexplained infertility. After countless appointments, cruel calendars, the cold brightness of clinics where hope smelled like bleach. After arguments that began with whispers and ended with slammed doors. He had watched her cry in the bathroom until her eyes swelled shut. He had told himself he couldn't live in that waiting room anymore. When he left, he told the world she was a good woman, just not the right woman for his future. His mother shook her head and said God had spoken at last. His friends congratulated him on knowing his worth. He moved out with the couch and the big TV and left Imani with silence. Now here she stood with 2 breathing answers. Mama Adebayo frowned so hard the air cooled. "This is nonsense," she snapped. "Our family does not accept street drama. Who are these children?" Imani looked at the older woman with respect and a firm line in her voice. "They're your grandchildren, ma'am." The twins held their fingers up awkwardly, little waves. Brianna's eyes shone with hurt and heat. "Malik, say something." He cleared his throat, groping for patience, posture, a plan. "Imani, this is not the place." "You chose the place," she replied. "You chose the audience. You sent the invitation. So I came. To return yours." The boy stepped forward, brave. "Is this the daddy?" he asked his mother, not whispering at all. Imani knelt so her eyes were level with his. "Yes, baby." The boy turned to Malik and did the math a 5-year-old could do, dimple to dimple, gaze to gaze. He stuck out his hand with all the seriousness in the world. "Hello, sir, I'm Ayo." Malik's palm shook when he took it. The hand was small and warm and very real. The girl, Amara, studied Brianna's belly. "Is there a baby in there?" she asked. Her voice was full of wonder, not rivalry. "Yes," Brianna said, caught between tears and instinct. "Yes, sweetie." Amara smiled. "We like babies. We will help carry diaper bag. We are strong." Someone in the back cackled and immediately covered their mouth. The sound broke tension just enough that whispers turned into a river. Imani rose. "I didn't come to fight," she said. "I came to be seen." She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. "I came with paperwork. For the questions." Malik recognized the cold official weight of it. Court stamps, dates, doctor's notes. He did not touch it. He was not ready for ink to make this moment permanent. "How?" he heard himself ask. The word was a child, barefoot, confused. Imani's face tightened. "After you left, I found a different doctor," she said. "A woman doctor who listened. She said we had been looking at the wrong person. She said the tests you did long ago were not complete. She said the timing we followed hurt us, not helped us." Imani glanced at the twins, choosing her words with care. "I tried again. God did the rest." A gasp, not from the crowd, but from Mama Adebayo. The older woman clutched the edge of the table. For a moment, anger rolled off her like heat. Then something else crossed her face. Calculation, memory, fear. Malik felt the floor tilt. He remembered the urologist he had avoided. He remembered the appointment he skipped because he had a pitch at work and a pride to protect. He remembered the way he always changed the subject when Imani asked for his follow-up results. He remembered the heavy quiet inside him, the voice that said, "This cannot be my fault." "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, though the answer stood right in front of him with blinking shoes. Imani met his eyes. "The day I found out I was pregnant, I called your mother first to share joy. She told me not to call again unless I had proof from her cousin's clinic in Houston. She told me not to scatter your new life with stories. So I came alone. I carried alone. I healed alone. I planned to tell you when I felt strong enough to stand in any storm." The room teetered. All eyes slid to Mama Adebayo. The older woman's jaw was stone. "You will not shame me," she said, but her voice trembled. "I did what mothers do. I protected my son. From what? Imani asked quietly. From his children? Brianna took a step back from the circle, her arms wrapping her belly like a shield. Her voice was small but sharp. Malik, do they belong to you? No one breathed. From the DJ table, a bass line tried to start and died. The photographer lifted his camera again on reflex, drawn to the kind of moment that changes people. A toddler bumped a balloon and it squeaked against the ceiling. Ayo tugged Malik's sleeve. Do you like football? He asked. I can run very fast. Amara pointed to the cake with tiny fondant sneakers on top. Can we have small piece? We can share. Malik could not hold all the feelings at once: shame, joy, fear, disbelief, anger at himself, tenderness that hurt. He was a damn learning the word flood. Imani, he said, almost begging. Please, let's step outside. Please. Imani nodded. We can talk anywhere. But hear me first. She looked around the room, at faces that once knew her as daughter-in-law, then the woman who couldn't, then rumor. I was invited as a failure, she said, not accusing, just naming. I came with the story complete. She reached into the folder and pulled out one more envelope, smaller, crisp, the kind of envelope that holds answers people spend years avoiding. Malik, she said. This is the paternity test you never took. It's already done. It will stop the whispers. He stared at the envelope like it might bite him. Somewhere behind him, a cousin whispered, Ah, God. Brianna's voice cut through the fog. Open it, she said, not loud but steady. Her eyes were wet, but they were clear. Right now. The twins squeezed their mother's hands and stared up, waiting. Malik reached for the envelope. His fingers brushed the seal, and the hall door burst open again. A woman in hospital scrubs stumbled in, breathless, clutching a phone, calling, Where is Malik Adebayo? Your father, he just... She swallowed, eyes huge. He collapsed. The ambulance is on the way, and he asked for you. He asked for all of you. The envelope trembled in Malik's hand. The hall erupted into noise. Mama Adebayo's face broke like a mask dropped on tile. The twins pressed closer to Imani. Brianna grabbed her belly and whispered a prayer. The envelope remained unopened between Malik's fingers as he turned toward the door, toward the sirens he could now hear far away, toward a truth that would not wait, and another that would not hide. Sirens wrote a red line through the afternoon. The hall emptied in clumsy waves, heels clacking, slippers slapping, uncles shouting, Make way, as they funneled onto the sidewalk. The balloon arch strained at its tape like it wanted to follow. Malik stuffed the sealed envelope in his jacket and guided his mother toward the parking lot. Imani gripped the twins with one hand and the white gift box with the other. Brianna leaned on her friend Keisha, breathing in slow counts the nurse from her prenatal class had taught her. They moved like separate rivers heading to one sea. The hospital sat 10 minutes away, a square of glass and light where the air smelled like lemon and fear. Security tried to hold the stampede at the sliding doors, but Mama Adebayo's voice cut through the line. My husband, she said, the way a queen states a border. They were allowed in groups of 5. In the elevator, nobody spoke. The numbers blinked up. 3. 4. 5. Malik stared at his reflection in the steel. Handsome suit, clean haircut, eyes that didn't look like his. He could still feel the small shape of Ayo's hand in his palm, like a coin you forget to drop. He felt the weight of the envelope against his heart like a hot stone. They reached the waiting area outside the emergency wing. A nurse in navy scrubs stepped forward, a tag that said Samson on his chest, a tired kindness in his eyes. Family for Mr. Adebayo? He asked. They nodded. He's stable for now, Samson said. Blood pressure spiked at the party. He developed chest pain, then a faint. We're running tests. He is asking to see. Samson glanced down at a note. His son, his wife, and... He lifted his head, puzzled but obedient. The woman with the quiet voice and the twins. He used those words. Imani's fingers squeezed Ayo's shoulder. The twins pressed close. Brianna made a small sound she pulled back down into herself. Malik looked from his fiancée to his ex-wife to the nurse, as if the room would reveal a correct answer. "Go," Brianna said softly, even as her jaw was tight. "He asked for you." Malik nodded. "You come with me," he said to his mother. Then he turned to Imani. "Please." Imani allowed a slow breath. "Children, we use our inside feet," she whispered, her way of saying, "Walk quietly." They nodded. They had the posture of tiny soldiers on their first mission. They followed Samson down a corridor where machines hummed like patient bees. In the room, Baba Dele lay propped up, his dark face shiny with sweat, his silver hair pointing in different directions like grass after rain. He still looked like a man who liked to laugh loud, a man who slapped shoulders and told stories, a man who called everybody "my brother," even if they were not. Now his hands shook. "My people," he said, voice gravel and honey. "You came." Mama rushed to the bed and took his hand, her wrapper swishing. "What is this, Dele?" she scolded, which is how some wives say I was afraid. "What is this shameful drama today? You will not start heaven journey because of children and balloons," he smiled weakly. "I don't plan to reach that gate yet." He looked at Malik with eyes that had watched him learn to walk, throw a ball, pack a suitcase, sign a lease. "My son." Malik stepped closer. His throat had sand in it. "Daddy." Then Baba Dele saw Imani, and the softness in his eyes changed into something like respect mixed with apology. "My daughter," he said, "I have wronged you by silence." Imani kept her chin high, but her mouth wavered. "Good afternoon, sir." "And you," he whispered, turning to the twins. The two stars. He had never seen them, yet he spoke like he had known them from a dream. Ayo puffed his chest. "I can run very fast." Amara held up 2 fingers. "I can sing 2 songs." Baba smiled with his whole face, though it hurt. "Of course you can." Samson checked a monitor and slipped out to give them a bubble of privacy. The beeps and breaths made a thin curtain around the bed. "I asked for you today because I am tired of secrets," Baba said. "When a man is tired of secrets, he must open windows." Mama stiffened. "Dele." He lifted one hand. "Let me talk, before my heart changes its mind." He looked at Malik again. "The day you and Imani started your doctor journey, do you remember I drove you to the first clinic?" Malik nodded slowly. He remembered the way his father had played old Ebenezer Obey songs in the car to make the air lighter. He remembered his father joking with the receptionist until she laughed. He remembered watching Imani swallow fear with a smile. "I told the doctor to be thorough," Baba said. "I told him to test both of you the way they test pilots before a flight. He did. Weeks later, when you were at work and they could not reach you, the lab called me because I was the emergency contact. They sent results to the house." Mama's eyes flashed. "Deal?" He turned to her. "Let me carry my shame myself." To the others, he said, "I opened the letter. It said your swimmers were tired." He softened the language for the twins. "And needed help." It did not say never. It said help. It said treatment. It said doctor. It did not say pride. The room shrank around Malik's chest. The envelope in his jacket pulsed. "I told your mother," Baba continued, voice low, "because I was afraid to tell you. I thought, if we carry this with wisdom, if we support you to do the treatment, joy will come quietly." I begged her. No blame, no shouting, no family meeting, just help the children. Mama's lips quivered between defense and regret. "I wanted to protect you," she said, her eyes on Malik but her words darting at Imani. "I wanted to protect our name. People talk, they twist, they hang a label you cannot wash. I went to my sister's clinic in Houston. She said maybe there is also issue with the wife. She said we should watch and pray. I thought, if you marry a woman whose womb opens quickly, the talk will end." Imani swallowed. "It is a terrible thing to sit in a room where you are the only problem," she said softly. It is a terrible thing to love a man who uses silence as a shield. Baba closed his eyes for a moment. I should have told you myself, my son. I failed you there, because I was raised in a world where men do not confess weakness, but weakness grows in the dark. He opened his eyes again. They were wet. When I saw you planning this big party with a big message, I started to feel my heart doing drum practice. I wanted joy for you, yes. For Brianna, yes. But I could not sit while we bury living truth. Imani touched the white box. I did not come to pour pepper in anybody's soup, she said. I came because your son invited me to be a shadow. And because these two, she smoothed Ayo's hair, then Amara's, have started asking bigger questions. Malik felt anger bang on the doors of his ribs. Anger at his mother, yes, but also at himself. He had left Imani to carry storms he helped make. He had thrown jokes like stones on a woman who was drowning. He had accepted an easy story because it made him feel tall. Daddy, he said, voice breaking at the top. What do I do now? Baba's hand shook as it reached for him. Malik took it. You do what men do when they are ready to be fathers, Baba said. You stop running from mirrors. You open letters. You stand in front of your choices, not behind them. Brianna appeared at the doorway with Keisha and Samson behind her. She looked pale but steady. How is he? She asked, eyes on Baba. She took 2 steps in and stopped when she saw Imani beside the bed, the twins' heads barely reaching the rail. Baba gave her a soft nod. You are welcome, my daughter, he said, because he had room in him for more than one daughter. Brianna's mouth trembled, but she drew herself up. I need all of us to talk like adults, she said. After the doctor clears Dad, we will sit. We will not shout. We will open that envelope. We will decide how to move, but we will not pretend. Imani turned, surprised by the calm steel in Brianna's words. Something unknotted between the 2 women. Not friendship yet, but a small path in a forest. Samson coughed politely. Mr. Adebayo, the cardiologist will come in 10, he said. I need to keep the room quiet. He glanced at the twins. There's a small family lounge with coloring books, he added to Imani. Ayo stood taller. We are not babies, Amara considered. But we can color small. Imani smiled. We'll wait there, she said. She touched Malik's arm, a hand that said, choose a brave thing. Then she led the twins out, their blinking shoes tracing light along the floor. In the corridor, they passed a chapel. A sign read, Open for prayer. Imani paused. She remembered the night she found out she was pregnant, how she had sat in a chapel that smelled like wood and salt, and cried into her own hands, not from fear, from relief that made her weak. She whispered a thank you now on the move. Back in the room, Mama sat, her face caved in around the eyes. Deal, she murmured when the door closed again. Just the 3 of them. Do you hate me? He shook his head. I hate fear, he said. I hate the way it wears us like clothes. Malik reached into his jacket and took out the envelope. It looked smaller out in the open. On the front, black letters, the lab's name, the date. His thumb ran over the seal. His heart thudded like a drum in a marching band. Open it, Baba whispered. Let truth do what it knows. The door swung in again before Malik could tear the paper. Keisha leaned in, eyes wide. Y'all, she said, then lowered her voice for the room. I'm sorry to interrupt. Brianna's saying she's having cramps like bad ones. Brianna's face went white with anger at her own body. It's fine, she lied, then winced. Samson checked her pulse without panic, but with speed. How far along are you, he asked. 36 weeks, she said. Any fluid, any bleeding? She hesitated. I think my water just... She looked down. A dark shine spread across the front of her dress, a color change that needed no translator. The room turned to ice and fire at the same time. The envelope slid from Malik's fingers and hit the floor with a soft slap, skidding under the bed where the shadows were. Samson hit the call button. "We need a wheelchair now," he told the intercom. To Brianna, "You're okay. We're right here. We're going to get you upstairs." Mama clutched her headscarf and began to pray under her breath, words rushing like a river. Baba tried to sit up and winced, monitors protesting. Malik dropped to his knees, reaching for the envelope under the bed, truth in paper, just as two nurses zipped in with a chair and a tray, and the quick choreography of a dance you only learn in emergencies. "Sir, let us move her," one nurse said. "You can meet us in labor and delivery." Brianna grabbed Malik's hand with a grip that told stories. "Don't leave me," she said. "I won't," he answered, and meant it. As they wheeled her toward the hall, a cry rose from the waiting area. Ayo and Amara had seen the rush and stood, frozen, little faces open. "Is the baby coming?" Amara asked, eyes bright with sudden fear and wonder. Imani wrapped an arm around both children. "Maybe," she said. "We will help however we can." The elevator doors slid open like a mouth about to speak. Malik turned once to his father, who was reaching for him, who was reaching for the envelope he could not see, who was reaching for a son he was still teaching how to be a man, then stepped into the elevator beside Brianna as the doors closed, the paternity truth lying under a hospital bed while a different truth pressed forward in a rush of water and time. The elevator rose with a slow hum, cutting through the layers of the hospital. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed like restless insects. Malik's mind was spinning faster than the numbers blinking up the panel. 6, 7, 8. Brianna gripped his hand so tight his knuckles went white. Her breathing came in short, sharp bursts, sweat forming along her hairline. "Just breathe with me," the nurse said, her tone steady but brisk. "You're doing great, Mama. In through your nose, out through your mouth, good job." Malik forced a shaky smile and echoed, "You're okay, Bree. We're almost there." But deep inside, he wasn't okay. Nothing about this day made sense. His father on a hospital bed, his mother's lies, his ex-wife showing up with twins that looked like him. And now, his fiancée about to give birth, possibly too early. The nurse pushed the wheelchair through double doors marked labor delivery. The corridor was cold and bright. A doctor in light green scrubs appeared, eyes sharp behind her glasses. Her name tag read, Dr. Jacobs. 36 weeks, she confirmed, flipping through the notes Samson had sent ahead. "All right, we'll monitor the contractions and the baby's heartbeat. Could be stress-induced labor. We'll try to delay if possible." Malik helped Brianna onto the bed. Machines beeped to life, tracing lines on screens, life in waves of green. She looked up at him, eyes glassy with fear. "Malik," she whispered, "I didn't plan for this today." "I know," he said, brushing her hair back. "Nobody did." Her lips trembled. Everything was supposed to be perfect. He wanted to say it still can be, but the words caught in his throat like stones. Outside, Imani stood at the waiting area with the twins. The children were restless but quiet, sensing something serious in the air. They sat on a bench, legs swinging, blinking shoes dimming in the hospital light. "Mommy?" Amara asked softly. "Is the new baby coming now?" Imani knelt down to their height. "Maybe, sweetheart. Sometimes babies choose their own time." Ayo tilted his head. "Is the baby our brother?" The question hit her like a slow wave. She managed to smile. "That's a big question," she said. "Let's wait and see what God says first." The children nodded, trusting that answer. Children always did until they learned the weight of adults' secrets. A nurse approached. Miss Imani, the doctor said your husband's father is asking for you." Imani hesitated. "Is he all right?" "He's stable," the nurse said, "but he wants to talk privately." She looked at her twins. "Can I leave them here with someone?" The nurse nodded. "They can stay in the playroom. There's staff watching. Imani kissed both their foreheads. Stay close together, okay? Yes, Mommy. She followed the nurse back down the hall, her sandals squeaking softly. Inside the room, Baba Dele looked weaker than before, but his eyes were still bright with something urgent. His wife sat by the corner, wringing her wrapper, murmuring a prayer that sounded half like repentance. Imani, Baba said, his voice low but steady. Come closer. She moved to his side. Yes, sir? Did you bring the paperwork? She nodded. It's with Malik, I think. He dropped it in the room before the rush. Baba sighed. Listen to me carefully, my daughter. I may not have another full day to untangle this mess. Imani shook her head, tears rising. Don't say that. He raised his hand. Let an old man speak. Pride almost destroyed us. My wife hid truth to save face. My son ran from truth to save himself. And you? You carried it alone to save peace. He paused, breathing slow. But silence, my dear, is a thief. It steals years. Imani's eyes filled. I only wanted to protect my children. And you did, he said gently. But now they deserve their name. Whatever happens next, open that envelope before my son loses more than he already has. She nodded, trembling. I will. Baba's eyes softened. You're a good woman, Imani. You were never the problem. He looked toward his wife, who sat motionless, guilt painting deep lines on her face. Tell him I said so. Imani blinked away tears. I will, sir. Now go, he said. Go see the new life arriving. Sometimes God uses a baby to fix what grown men broke. Back in the maternity wing, Malik sat beside Brianna as nurses moved around the room. She clutched his wrist. Please, she said, her voice weak. Don't leave me alone in this. I'm right here, he said. Between contractions, her gaze wandered. You didn't tell me you invited her, she murmured suddenly. Malik froze. Bri, why would you do that? She asked, voice shaking. What did you want to prove? He swallowed. It was stupid. I just wanted her to see I moved on, that I was happy. Brianna gave a bitter laugh. And now? You still happy? He dropped his head. No. The monitor beeped louder for a moment. The doctor glanced at it. She's contracting again, stronger this time. Imani entered quietly, pausing by the door. How is she? She asked. Malik turned. Their eyes met, years of history in one look. Labor is progressing, he said. Doctor's watching her. Brianna noticed Imani and blinked through her tears. You came back? Imani nodded. Your father-in-law asked me to return. He wants peace between everyone, and... She looked down. I came to give you this. She held out the white gift box she had brought to the baby shower. Brianna stared. For me, for the baby, Imani said softly. It's a handmade blanket. I sewed it months ago. I didn't know who it would belong to, but now I do. Brianna looked at her, confused but moved. Why would you? Imani shrugged lightly. Because no child deserves to inherit the bitterness of adults. A tear slipped from Brianna's eye. She took the box and nodded slowly. Thank you. The air softened for a moment, a fragile peace. Then a loud beep cut through the room. One of the monitors flashed red. The nurse checked the screen, her face tightening. Doctor, we're losing the baby's heartbeat intermittently. Dr. Jacobs moved fast. Brianna, deep breaths. We might need to prep for an emergency C-section. No, Brianna cried, panicking. Malik stood frozen. What's happening? Her blood pressure's dropping, the doctor said. We're stabilizing her now. Imani stepped forward instinctively. Can I help? The nurse shook her head. Family only, ma'am. Malik looked helpless. His heart raced as machines blared. For the second time that day, he was surrounded by women in pain because of him, and powerless to fix it. Malik, Imani said gently. Go with her. Don't think. Just go. He looked at her, then at Brianna. The decision tore him in half. But he nodded and followed the doctor as they rushed Brianna down the hall toward surgery. Imani leaned against the wall, her body trembling. She whispered a prayer under her breath, one that had carried her through lonely nights. Lord, bring life out of this chaos. Let truth be born too. Behind her, small footsteps echoed. The twins had left the playroom. Mommy, Ayo said, holding up the envelope Malik had dropped earlier. We found this under the chair. Is it important? Imani's breath caught. She knelt and took it, fingers trembling. The hospital's fluorescent lights reflected off the seal. Yes, she whispered. It's very important. The twins looked at her curiously. Can we open it? Imani hesitated, staring at their wide eyes so full of innocence and reflection of the man she once loved. She slowly broke the seal. Inside was the DNA result. Her heart thudded as she scanned the lines. Paternity result, positive. Probability of paternity, 99.999%. Father, Malik Adebayo. Imani's breath came in a rush. The paper shook in her hands. Ayo tugged her sleeve. Mommy, what does it say? She smiled through tears. It says, your daddy has always been your daddy. The twins grinned, clapping softly, though they didn't fully understand. Imani wiped her eyes and whispered, now the truth can finally speak. But before she could stand, a nurse ran down the hallway shouting, Code Blue, Labor Room 3, Patient Adebayo is crashing. Imani froze. That was Brianna's room. Her heart sank. She grabbed the twins' hands and ran after the nurse, the DNA result still clenched in her fist. The day that started with celebration was about to decide who lived and who would carry the truth forward. The corridor was a storm of noise. Alarms screaming, nurses running, wheels clattering, voices calling codes that turned hearts into knots. The sterile hospital air was filled with panic. Imani's sandals slapped the tile as she ran, clutching Ayo and Amara's hands. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like thunder inside her chest. The twins struggled to keep up, but they didn't let go. The paper with the DNA result was still crumpled in her palm. When she reached the glass window of Labor Room 3, she froze. Inside, Brianna lay pale and motionless, her hair plastered to her forehead, wires snaking from her arms. Dr. Jacobs was barking orders. Pressure's dropping. We're losing oxygen saturation. While Malik stood near the bed, his suit jacket gone, his face ghost white. Sir, you have to step back, a nurse said, trying to move him aside. Malik's voice broke. Please, just save her. Save them both. Outside the glass, Imani covered her mouth. The twins looked up at her, frightened by the sudden chaos. Mommy, is she going to die? Amara whispered. Imani dropped to her knees and hugged them tight. No, sweetheart, we will pray. God listens fastest when children pray. Say it with me. The twins clasped their small hands. Dear God, Ayo whispered. Help the lady and her baby. Inside the room, the doctor's tone shifted. We're taking her to surgery. Emergency C-section now. Two nurses began rolling the bed toward the door. Malik followed, stumbling slightly as if his legs barely remembered how to move. When he passed the waiting area, he saw Imani standing there with the twins, her eyes full of fear and something else. Strength. Malik, she called. He turned. She stepped forward and pressed the paper, the DNA result, into his hand. You'll need to hold on to truth before it's too late, she said quietly. Your father asked me to give it to you. Malik stared down at it, his mind spinning between two worlds. One where a baby might die, and another where two children already alive carried his name. Thank you, he whispered. Then he looked at the twins, really looked at them, as if seeing through all the noise. Ayo gave a small, nervous smile. Amara hid her face against Imani's leg. Malik's voice trembled. They're really mine? Imani nodded once. They always were. The doctor called from down the hall. Mr. Adebayo, we need you now. He turned and ran after them, the DNA paper fluttering like a white flag of truth in his hand. 2 hours passed. The hospital that had been buzzing was now quiet, heavy, holding its breath. The twins had fallen asleep on the couch in the waiting lounge, their heads resting on each other's shoulders. Imani sat nearby, her eyes swollen from crying. Mama Adebayo stood at the far end of the corridor, hands clasped, whispering prayers in Yoruba, pacing back and forth. Every few minutes she looked toward the operating room doors, hoping for news that didn't come. Baba Dele had been moved to a recovery room upstairs. The nurse said his condition was stable, but he kept asking, "Have they opened the truth yet? Has he seen his children?" Then finally, the door of the operating theater swung open. Malik stepped out, still in the green gown they had given him. His face was wet, from tears, not sweat. His eyes were red and hollow. Imani stood immediately. "Malik?" He didn't speak for a moment. His lips trembled, and when he did talk, his voice was low and raw. "She's alive," Imani gasped, clutching her chest. "The baby, too," he added. "A boy. They're both safe." Mama Adebayo let out a cry that was half praise, half release. "Thank you, Jesus," she shouted, clapping her hands. "Olugbala, thank you." Malik gave a tired smile that didn't reach his eyes. But the doctor said, "It was close. Too close." He sank into a chair, his hands covering his face. For a long moment, no one spoke. The weight of everything, pride, lies, birth, and truth, sat in the silence like a heavy visitor. Then Imani walked to him slowly and knelt down beside him. "You did what you could," she said softly. He shook his head. "No. I did what a coward does. I let everyone else fight for me. You, my father, even Brianna." She reached for his hand. "You can still change that. The truth is here now. You just have to choose what to do with it." Malik looked at the sleeping twins. For the first time, he noticed the little scar above Ayo's eyebrow, the same one he had gotten falling off a bicycle when he was 6. He whispered, "How did I miss all these years?" Imani's eyes glistened. "You were listening to noise that told you you'd lost everything. But you didn't. You just needed to open your eyes." He nodded slowly, his voice breaking. "I want to know them, Imani. I want to be there, if you'll let me." She smiled, though tears ran down her cheeks. They've been waiting their whole lives for that. Malik exhaled a long, trembling breath. "And Brianna?" Imani stood. "She has her child now. Your child, too. You'll have to face that together, but maybe now you can do it honestly." He nodded, staring at the floor. Then Mama Adebayo approached them, her eyes red. For the first time in years, she looked small, fragile, not the iron woman who used to command every room. She stood in front of Imani, hesitated, and then said in a shaking voice, "My daughter, forgive me." Imani's lips parted. "I wronged you," the older woman continued. "I let pride blind me. I was so desperate to see my son happy that I built his happiness on lies. But look what God has done. He still brought life through your pain. Please forgive me." Imani didn't speak at first. Then she reached forward and held Mama Adebayo's trembling hands. "I forgave you long ago," she said softly. "I just prayed you would one day see it." The older woman broke down and pulled her into an embrace, sobbing against her shoulder. Malik watched in silence, the sound of their forgiveness like rain on dry soil. A few minutes later, a nurse appeared at the end of the corridor. "Mr. Adebayo," she called. "You can see your wife now. She's asking for you." He stood, wiping his eyes. "Both of them?" The nurse smiled gently. "Mother and baby are fine. She's waiting." He turned back to Imani. For a long second, they looked at each other, two people who had broken each other once, and now stood on the edge of healing. "Go," Imani said. Your son needs you. He nodded. So do yours. He walked down the corridor toward the room where Brianna waited, the envelope of DNA results still clutched in his hand. The truth ready to be spoken. Imani sat back down beside her sleeping twins, brushing a curl from Amara's face. Her heart was heavy, but at peace. Outside the window, dawn light was just beginning to touch the horizon. The story that began with shame was now rewriting itself with truth. If you've been watching till now, what would you do if your ex showed up with twins that looked just like you at your baby shower? Would you have opened the truth sooner, or waited like Malik did? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this story if you've been following the drama so far. The hospital room was dim, quiet except for the steady beep of monitors and the soft hum of the air conditioner. Brianna lay propped up on the bed, pale but awake, her eyes tired yet sharp. A newborn baby boy, wrapped in a blue hospital blanket, slept soundly in a clear bassinet beside her. When Malik entered, she looked up slowly. Her lips curved into a faint, exhausted smile. "He's beautiful, isn't he?" she whispered. Malik nodded, his throat tight. "He is." He moved closer, his gaze locked on the tiny bundle. The baby's nose, his cheeks. It was like looking at himself through time. For the first time that day, Malik felt something pure, a flicker of peace that cut through the chaos. Brianna studied his face. "You've been crying." He laughed softly, but it came out cracked. "It's been a long day." "Imani?" she asked. He hesitated, then nodded. "She's still here, with the twins." At the word twins, Brianna's expression shifted. The light in her eyes dimmed a little. "They're really his, aren't they?" she said quietly, though she wasn't asking. It was the tone of someone bracing for truth she already knew. Malik sat down beside her bed. "Yes," he said finally. "They are. I just got the test results." Brianna looked down at her baby and blinked away a tear. "So, all this time, she was never the problem?" Malik sighed, running a hand over his face. "No, she wasn't." The silence that followed was thick but not angry, just heavy, like a room full of ghosts finally settling down. After a moment, Brianna spoke again. "I thought I was ready for this day," she said. "Ready to show everyone that I got everything she couldn't give you. But now, looking at this baby, knowing she went through all that pain alone, I feel small." Malik reached for her hand, but she didn't pull away. "You didn't know," he said. "None of us knew. We all got lost in pride." Brianna wiped her eyes. "So what happens now?" Malik looked at his son, the new baby, then imagined the twins sleeping down the hall, faces he had only just begun to know. "I don't have all the answers," he admitted, "but I'm done running from truth. I'm going to be a father, to all my children." Brianna's jaw clenched slightly. "All of them?" "Yes," he said firmly. "All." She let out a shaky breath and turned her gaze back to the window. Dawn light crept through the blinds, painting thin golden lines across the white walls. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Brianna said quietly, "You loved her once." Malik nodded. "I still respect her." "That's not what I asked." He looked away. "Love doesn't vanish. It just changes shape." She nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of that truth. "I guess we all have to find our shape again." The baby stirred and whimpered softly. Brianna lifted him carefully, her movements tender despite her exhaustion. "You should hold him," she said, offering the newborn to Malik. He hesitated, his hands shaking slightly as he took the baby. The warmth of the small body spread through his arms like fire melting ice. The baby's tiny fingers curled around his thumb. For the first time in years, Malik cried without shame. Outside the room, Imani stood near the window in the corridor, watching the sunrise through the glass. Her reflection looked older, stronger. The twins stood beside her, yawning, holding hands. "Mommy, can we go home now?" Ayo asked. "Soon, baby," she said softly. "Is Daddy coming?" Amara asked. Imani smiled faintly. "Yes, he just met his new baby." Amara's eyes widened. "So we have a brother?" Imani nodded. "Yes, you do." The twins clapped quietly, delighted. "We will teach him to run," Ayo said proudly, "and to dance." Imani laughed for the first time that day, a real laugh. "I'm sure he'll need both." Mama Adebayo approached, her face gentler now. "Imani," she said softly. "They said the surgery went well. Brianna and the baby are fine. Malik is with them." Imani nodded. "I know, that's good." The older woman hesitated, then continued. "I told Dele everything. He said to tell you he's proud of you, for your strength. He said he's ready to meet his grandchildren." Imani's eyes brightened. "He wants to see them?" "Yes," Mama said with a small smile. "He said, 'Bring my stars to me.'" Imani turned to her twins. "Come on, Ayo Amara. Grandpa wants to meet you." The children's faces lit up as they followed her down the hall. Their blinking sneakers made tiny flashes of light on the white floor. When they entered the recovery room, Baba Dele smiled weakly from his bed. His eyes softened when he saw the twins. Look at you," he said, voice full of awe. "Two halves of a miracle." Ayo waved shyly. "Hello, Grandpa." Amara added, "We brought you happiness." He chuckled, the sound raspy but warm. "And you brought me peace." He reached for their hands, his old fingers wrapping around their tiny ones. "You are both my legacy," he whispered. "May the world never tell you otherwise." Imani stood by the doorway, watching, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Mama Adebayo wiped her own eyes. "God used what we broke to teach us grace," she murmured. Hours later, Malik came to find Imani in the hospital courtyard. The sky had turned orange, the day finally catching its breath. He looked exhausted but lighter, as if some invisible weight had shifted off his chest. "They're both fine," he said, standing beside her. "Brianna's resting. The baby's name is Eli." Imani smiled faintly. "That's a good name. It means uplifted." He nodded. "Fitting, I guess." They stood in silence for a while, the sounds of birds and distant cars filling the quiet. The hospital fountain gurgled softly nearby. Finally, Malik spoke again. "I read the test again. I just wanted to see it with my own eyes." "And now you know," Imani said. He turned to her. "I know more than that. I know what it feels like to lose time, to waste years hating the wrong person. I can't fix the past, Imani, but I want to make things right. For them, and for you." She looked at him, eyes steady. "You already started by showing up." He exhaled, relief flickering through him. "They're amazing," he said. "Ayo talks like an old man. Amara sings like she's been here before." Imani laughed softly. "They're my joy." "They're mine too," he said. She glanced at him. "So what now, Malik?" He shrugged, the question heavier than it seemed. "Now, we build a new kind of family. It won't be perfect, but it'll be honest." Imani nodded. "Honesty is a good start." They stood there, two people who had once loved, once lost, now joined again not by romance but by truth, and by the children who carried the best of both of them. The morning sun rose fully, spilling light across the courtyard, catching in the twins' shoes as they ran toward their father for the first time without fear. Malik knelt and opened his arms wide. Ayo and Amara ran straight into them, and for the first time in years, the Adebayo family felt whole again. Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next emotional chapter. 2 weeks later, the Lagos sun burned gold against the glass walls of the Adebayo mansion. The baby shower decorations had long been taken down, but their echoes still haunted the hall. Half-deflated balloons, the faint scent of vanilla cake, and a blue banner folded in a corner. Life had not returned to normal, it had simply rearranged itself. Malik sat on the living room couch, wearing a plain t-shirt and joggers instead of his usual designer clothes. On his lap slept Eli, the newborn, swaddled tight and peaceful. Across from him, Imani sat with Ayo and Amara, helping them arrange crayons across the coffee table. The scene was strange, tender, and fragile. A man sitting between two worlds, the past and the present, each demanding a piece of him. Brianna was still in the hospital for observation, recovering from complications after surgery. They spoke every day, but her tone had cooled. "Take care of our son," she said softly on the phone. "We'll talk about us when I'm home." Now, Malik watched Imani tie Amara's hair into two puff buns. The children's laughter filled the once silent house. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like a mansion. It felt like a home. "Hold still, princess," Imani said playfully. Amara giggled. "Mommy, you're pulling." Ayo pointed proudly at his drawing. "Look, Daddy, it's our family." Malik leaned forward and smiled. The drawing was uneven, but it told the truth. 4 stick figures, a man, a woman, and 2 small children, all holding hands beneath a crooked sun. "You forgot baby Eli," Malik said gently. Ayo frowned, then quickly drew a smaller circle in the woman's arms. "There, baby brother." Imani's laughter was soft. He even gave Eli curly hair. Malik looked up at her and caught her smile, tired, genuine, and full of something unspoken. "They've got your energy," he said. "It lights up the room." Imani shrugged. "They got their father's stubbornness too." He chuckled. "Guilty." Just then the doorbell rang. Once, twice, and sharp and urgent. Malik frowned. "Expecting anyone?" Imani shook her head. He handed Eli gently to her and stood. The bell rang again, faster now. He walked to the door and opened it. Standing there was a woman, tall, confident, with an envelope clutched in her manicured hand. Her red lipstick was perfect, her perfume sharp. It was Diana, Brianna's older sister. "Diana?" Malik said, confused. "What are you doing here?" She walked past him into the living room without invitation, her heels clicking on the tiles. "I think we need to talk, Malik." Imani stood, holding Eli protectively. The twins stared, sensing the tension. Diana's gaze flicked to Imani, her lips curling slightly. "So it's true," she said. "You brought her here, into your home, with her children?" "Diana, not now," Malik began. "No, now," she snapped. "Brianna's lying in a hospital bed recovering from surgery, and you're playing happy family with your ex-wife and her kids?" "They're his kids," Imani said calmly, her voice even but steady. Diana turned sharply. "Excuse me?" Malik took a breath. "It's true. We confirmed it. Ayo and Amara are mine." For a heartbeat, Diana's face froze, surprise flickering across her perfectly composed features. Then she laughed bitterly. "You're unbelievable. You destroyed Brianna for this? For her?" Imani stepped forward, her tone calm. "Please, don't bring hate into a house that's already suffered enough." "Hate?" Diana's voice rose. "You humiliated my sister in front of the world, and you think I'll stand here and—" "Diana," Malik interrupted, raising his voice now. "Enough." The twins flinched at his tone. Imani placed a hand on their shoulders, whispering, "It's okay." Malik lowered his voice again. "I'm not proud of how everything happened, but the truth had to come out. Brianna knows I'm taking responsibility for all my children. That includes Eli and the twins. That's not betrayal. That's what a man should do." Diana glared at him. "And what about my sister's heart? You think you can patch that with truth and pity?" Imani exhaled softly. "No one can patch another person's heart. She'll heal when she's ready. But our children shouldn't pay the price for mistakes they didn't make." Diana stared at her, taken aback by the calmness. Then she smirked. "You really are something, aren't you? Always looking like peace while everything around you burns." Imani said nothing. Diana dropped the envelope on the table. Fine. You want truth? Here's some more. She turned to Malik. Brianna's lawyer asked me to deliver this. She's filing for separation. The words landed like thunder. Malik's shoulders sagged. Separation? Diana nodded. She says she needs time and distance. She can't live in a house built on ghosts. Malik's throat tightened. He looked at the twins, at Eli in Imani's arms, and at Imani's face, full of quiet pain. I understand, he said at last. She deserves that choice. Diana picked up her purse, her voice cold again. Good. I'll tell her you said that. She turned to leave, but paused at the door. You know, Malik, not every truth sets you free. Some just rearrange your cage. The door closed behind her with a sharp click. Silence filled the house again. Imani placed Eli gently in his crib and turned to Malik. I'm sorry. He shook his head. Don't be. I made this mess. I just hoped we could all come out of it whole. Imani walked closer, her voice low. Sometimes being whole doesn't mean being together. It means being honest. Malik looked at her for a long moment, the woman who had carried his children in silence, who had been the victim of his pride and the answer to his redemption. I don't deserve your forgiveness, he said quietly. Imani smiled faintly. Maybe not, but forgiveness was never about deserving. It's about release. He nodded slowly. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance, and the first drops of rain began to patter against the wide windows. Ayo and Amara ran to watch, pressing their faces against the glass, giggling as the lightning flashed. Malik joined them, crouching down. You know what rain means? He asked softly. It means sky is crying, Amara said. He smiled. Sometimes, but sometimes it means God is washing everything clean. Imani stood behind them, arms folded, watching. And for the first time she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, healing had begun. If you've been following from chapter 1 till now, what do you think? Was Brianna right to separate from Malik? Should Imani forgive him completely or keep her distance? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The rain poured all night. By morning, the Adebayo mansion felt quieter than ever. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind that presses down on your chest. Malik sat at the dining table, staring at a bowl of untouched cereal that had long gone soggy. The twins had eaten and gone to play in the sitting room, their laughter distant like a memory of happiness that didn't belong to this house anymore. Imani was upstairs, folding their clothes. She planned to take the twins back to her small apartment later that evening. Though Malik had offered to drive them, she politely refused. We've disturbed your peace long enough, she'd said. Peace. Malik didn't even know what that word meant anymore. He rubbed his temples, exhaustion pressing behind his eyes. He hadn't slept. The last 2 weeks had been a blur of guilt, paperwork, and phone calls with Brianna's lawyer. Her separation request was official now, not divorce, but a pause. A silent verdict. And though he tried to be strong for everyone, Malik knew the truth. He had broken more than one heart. The doorbell rang. He frowned. Imani, he called. No answer. The twins were too deep in their cartoons to hear. He pushed himself up and walked to the door. When he opened it, the rain smell hit him first. Earthy, cool, heavy with memory. Then he saw her. A young woman stood in the doorway, drenched from head to toe. She couldn't have been older than 20. Her skin was a deep bronze shade, her hair a thick puff of curls plastered by rain. She clutched a black handbag close to her chest like a shield. Can I help you? Malik asked cautiously. The girl's voice trembled. Are you Malik Adebayo? Yes. She hesitated. My name is Kemi. He frowned. Okay. Kemi who? Her eyes filled with tears that she blinked back fiercely. Kemi Ajoke. The name stirred nothing familiar, not at first. But then, Something clicked. A joke. He remembered a woman, long before Imani, before Brianna, from his university days. A brief, wild fling that ended before it started. He remembered her laugh, her perfume, and the way she disappeared without a word after exams. He felt a chill run through him. A joke? He whispered. As in, she was my mother, Kimi said quickly. She died 3 months ago. The air thickened. I'm sorry to hear that, Malik said carefully, his throat suddenly dry. But I don't understand. Why are you here? Kemi swallowed, her fingers shaking as she opened her bag and pulled out an old, faded photograph. She handed it to him. Malik stared. It was a picture of himself, years younger, standing beside a smiling woman in a yellow dress. A joke. He remembered the day. They'd gone to a music festival. She'd insisted they take a photo to remember this moment. He had forgotten it completely, or forced himself to. Then his gaze dropped to the second photograph Kemi slid out of the envelope. A little girl, about 3 years old, sitting on a joke's lap. The child's eyes were wide and familiar, the same shape, the same intense brown as his own. Malik's voice cracked. Is that? Yes, Kemi said softly. It's me. For a moment, the only sound was the rain against the porch roof. Malik's knees felt weak. He sank onto the nearest chair, his mind a storm. This can't be right. I didn't believe it at first either, Kemi said, her voice trembling. But before she died, my mom gave me this letter. She held out a folded piece of paper stained with age. Malik unfolded it with shaking hands. The handwriting was neat, looping. He read, Kemi, my daughter, if you are reading this, it means I couldn't tell you myself. Your father is Malik Adebayo. He doesn't know about you. I never told him. It was my choice. Don't hate him. He was young, proud, and chasing his dreams. But if one day you need to know who you are, find him. He's not a bad man, just one who didn't stay long enough to learn what love really is. The paper slipped from his fingers. He pressed his palms against his face. I didn't come here for money, Kemi said, her voice steady now. I just wanted to meet you, to see your face once, to know if I was really his child. Malik looked up at her, his eyes red. You're saying I'm your father? Kemi nodded. Silence. Then a small voice behind them said, Daddy, who is that? Malik turned. Ayo stood in the hallway clutching a toy car. Behind him, Amara peeked from behind the wall, curious. Imani appeared at the top of the stairs holding folded towels. Her eyes immediately caught the scene, the drenched girl, Malik's pale face, the open letter on the table. What's going on? She asked, slowly stepping down. Malik rose, his mouth dry. Imani. This is Kemi. Imani's gaze shifted to the young woman. Hello, she said cautiously. Kemi gave a nervous nod. Hello, ma'am. Malik took a shaky breath. She says she's my daughter. The room went silent. Even the rain seemed to stop listening. Imani blinked, trying to process. Your daughter? Yes, Kemi whispered. From before. Before everything. Imani's eyes flickered from Kemi to Malik, searching for the lie. But all she found was shock. Malik rubbed the back of his neck. I swear I didn't know. I had no idea, Imani, none. Imani's voice was soft, but firm. And now? Malik turned to Kemi, his voice cracking. Now, I need to know the truth. He motioned toward the kitchen. Come in, you're soaked. Kemi nodded and stepped inside. Ayo and Amara watched in silence, sensing the tension but not understanding it. As Imani followed them into the living room, her heart sank. She had forgiven Malik once, but this was another truth. Another shadow from the past knocking on their fragile peace. And this time, forgiveness might not be enough. What would you do if a stranger showed up at your door claiming to be your child? Would you welcome them or demand proof first? Share your thoughts in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because in the next story, the DNA test will reveal whether Kemi is really Malik's daughter, and the result will turn the entire Adebayo family upside down. The next morning was gray and heavy. Clouds hung low over Lagos, pressing against the skyline as if the heavens themselves were waiting for the truth to break loose again. Inside the Adebayo mansion, silence stretched like glass. No cartoons, no laughter, only the slow ticking of the clock in the living room. Malik stood by the window, arms folded, watching rain gather into rivulets on the glass. Behind him, Imani sat at the dining table with Kemi. The twins were upstairs in their room, drawing. Imani had told them they'd talk later. Kemi looked small at the large table. Her damp braids framed her tired face, and her eyes were swollen from crying. She had spent the night in the guest room. Malik had insisted she stay until things were clear. "Did you eat something?" Imani asked gently. Kemi shook her head. "Couldn't. I keep wondering if coming here was a mistake." "It wasn't," Imani said softly. "You did what any child with questions would do." Kemi gave a small, grateful smile. "Thank you, ma'am. You're kind." Imani smiled back faintly. "You can call me Imani." Before they could say more, Malik turned from the window. His voice was low, firm. "We're doing a DNA test today." Kemi nodded. "I understand." Imani looked between them, her stomach twisting. The memory of the last DNA envelope still felt fresh. The tension, the silence before truth arrived. She prayed silently that whatever came next wouldn't tear them apart again. By afternoon, they sat in a private clinic on Victoria Island. The waiting room smelled faintly of disinfectant and rain. Malik filled out the forms, hands trembling. Kemi sat beside him, quiet, polite, eyes fixed on the floor. When the nurse called their names, Malik stood first. The twins and Imani stayed in the reception area. Inside, the nurse swabbed Malik's mouth, then Kemi's. The procedure was simple, but the silence afterward was not. As they left the room, Malik finally said, "Kemi, if this test comes back positive..." She turned to him. "Then what?" He hesitated. "Then I owe you a lifetime of apologies, and a father." Kemi's lips trembled. "And if it's not?" He looked away. "Then I still owe you kindness, because you lost your mother and you came here alone." Her eyes filled. "You sound like her. She said you weren't cruel, just scared." Malik swallowed hard. She wasn't wrong. 3 days later, the results arrived. Malik held the sealed envelope in his hand, sitting once again at the same dining table that had witnessed too much truth. Imani was beside him, the twins playing quietly on the rug nearby. Kemi sat opposite, wringing her hands in her lap. "Open it," Imani whispered. Malik tore the seal slowly, almost afraid to breathe. The paper inside was crisp, the words neat and merciless. His eyes scanned the page. Paternity result, positive. Probability of paternity, 97%. Father, Malik Adebayo. The paper fell from his hand like a feather. For a moment, nobody moved. The only sound was the ticking clock. Kemi's lips parted, but no sound came. Then tears spilled down her cheeks. She covered her face, sobbing softly. Malik pushed his chair back and stood slowly, his legs unsteady. He walked around the table and crouched beside her. "Kemi." She looked up through tears. He reached for her hands, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I should have been there." Kemi shook her head. "You couldn't have known. She never told you." Malik's voice dropped to a whisper. "Still, I missed 20 years of your life. 20 years I can never get back." She tried to smile through tears. "You're here now. That's enough for me." He pulled her into a hug, awkward at first, then real. Kemi's sobs deepened, the years of absence melting between them. Imani turned away slightly, blinking fast to hold back tears. The twins watched from the corner. Ayo whispered to Amara, "We have a big sister?" Amara grinned. "Then she can braid my hair." Imani smiled faintly, wiping a tear. When Malik finally stood, his face was pale but full of resolve. "I'm not hiding anything anymore. Kemi deserves to know her family. All of it." Imani nodded. "Then let her stay here until she finds her footing." Malik blinked. "You're okay with that?" She looked him in the eye. "I've learned something about truth, Malik. It doesn't destroy people. Lies do." Kemi turned toward her. "Thank you, Imani. I didn't mean to cause problems." "You didn't," Imani said softly. "You brought light into shadows that needed it." That evening, as the house grew quiet again, Malik walked out to the garden with Kemi. The rain had stopped, and the grass sparkled under the streetlights. He pointed toward the sky. "See that star?" he said. "That one that doesn't blink much?" Kemi nodded. "My father used to say that's the star that watches fathers learn patience." Kemi smiled faintly. "You think he's proud of you now?" Malik's chest tightened. "Maybe not yet, but I'm learning." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the sky. Then Malik spoke again, his voice low but certain. "Tomorrow we'll go see your grandfather. He deserves to know you too." Kemi's smile widened. "You think he'll like me?" Malik chuckled softly. "If he's anything like me, he'll love you in the first 5 seconds." Kemi laughed, a small, fragile sound that carried across the wet lawn like a promise of healing. Upstairs, Imani stood at the window, watching them through the glass. She wasn't jealous. Not anymore. Just reflective. The past had finally caught up, but instead of breaking them, it was building something new, something whole. Still, a quiet unease lingered in her chest. Because when truth keeps arriving at your door, sometimes it means another one is still on the way. And far away in a hospital bed, Brianna stared at her phone, her face unreadable as she replayed a voice note Malik had sent earlier, the one where he confessed everything. Her finger hovered over the delete button, but instead, she pressed save. Then she whispered to herself, "He thinks this is over, but it's only just beginning." If you were Brianna, how would you react after learning Malik has a grown daughter from another woman? Would you forgive him? The morning sun rose over Lagos like a slow warning. Tell me in the comments and drop but something heavy lingered beneath it. Don't forget to like, the kind of quiet that comes before thunder. Brianna sat upright in her hospital bed, her baby, Eli, sleeping beside her in a transparent bassinet. The glow of the early light painted her face soft gold, but her eyes told another story. Cold, sharp, awake. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Malik. "Malik, please pick up. I need you to know everything. I'm sorry for all of it. For the lies, for the way I hurt you, for what I didn't know. I'll wait for you. Always." She stared at the message without responding. Her thumb hovered over the reply button, but she didn't press it. Instead, she scrolled up to the earlier voice note, the one where Malik confessed about Imani's twins and the new daughter, Kemi. She replayed the message slowly, letting every word carve itself into her heart. When it ended, she whispered, "You waited too long, Malik." There was a knock at the door. "Come in," she said. Diana walked in, wearing sunglasses and her usual expensive perfume. She carried a handbag big enough to hide a war. Brianna's voice was calm. "You look like trouble." "I am trouble," Diana said, taking a seat beside the bed. "And you look like you're ready for revenge." Brianna smiled faintly. "Maybe I am." Diana took off her sunglasses and leaned forward. "So what's the plan?" "I don't want to destroy him," Brianna said slowly, eyes on Eli. "I just want him to feel what I felt. Powerless, betrayed, humiliated." Diana smirked. "Same difference." Brianna looked up at her. No, I don't want to burn his life. I want to reshape it piece by piece. How? Brianna picked up her phone and opened a message thread. It was from a man named Mr. Oho, the same financial advisor who handled Malik's business accounts. She typed quickly, "Good morning, Mr. Oho. I'd like to review the Adebayo Holdings investment portfolio, privately." Diana raised an eyebrow. "You're going for his money?" "I'm going for his peace," Brianna said. "Same thing, in his world." Diana chuckled. "You've changed." Brianna smiled coldly. Pain changes people. Later that day, Malik sat in his father's living room with Kemi, Ayo, and Amara. Baba Deli sat in an armchair, his cane resting against his knee. His face was weak but full of wonder as he looked at Kemi for the first time. "So, this is my first granddaughter," he said with a trembling smile. "Ah, the one who looks just like my mother." Kemi blushed, laughing shyly. "You think so, sir?" "I know so," Baba said proudly. "That nose, those eyes, they are ours." Mama Adebayo, who had been quietly peeling oranges, looked up and smiled gently. "Come and sit closer, my dear. Family must not sit far." Kemi hesitated, then obeyed. Imani watched from the sofa, heart warm at the sight. The family was healing, thread by thread. Malik stood near the window, phone in hand. He had called Brianna 3 times that morning. No response. He sent another message. "Please, let me see Eli. I need to make this right." But again, nothing. His phone buzzed once. A new message, but not from Brianna. From Mr. Oho. "Mr. Adebayo, your wife requested access to your company's investment portfolio. Should we proceed?" Malik frowned. His heart skipped a beat. "Wife?" He immediately dialed Brianna's number, but it went straight to voicemail. "Something's not right," he muttered. Imani turned. "What happened?" "Brianna's trying to access my company's finances." Imani's brows furrowed. "Why?" He shook his head. "I don't know. But she's not doing this alone." That evening, the first crack appeared. One of Malik's business partners called, panicked. "Malik, are you aware that your company's shares are being transferred to another account? I just got a legal notice from your finance lawyer." "What?" Malik said, rising from his seat. "That's impossible." "It's not. It's signed under your name, and your wife's." Malik's pulse quickened. "Brianna." Meanwhile, across town, Brianna sat in a quiet office with Mr. Oho and Diana. The transfer papers were open on the table. "I just need you to confirm the digital signature," Oho said. Brianna's hand hovered over the tablet. "Once I sign, what happens?" Oho cleared his throat. "You'll gain 50% control over Malik's personal and business assets. You'll have authority to make withdrawals, transfers, or freeze accounts until the separation terms are finalized." Diana smirked. "In other words, you hold his heartbeat." Brianna signed. The digital pen beeped softly. "It's done," Oho said. Brianna leaned back in her chair. "Good." But deep inside, a strange ache twisted in her chest. This wasn't triumph. It was justice tangled with heartbreak. Diana clapped her hands lightly. "Congratulations, baby sister. You just became the most powerful woman in Lagos." Brianna gave her a look. "I didn't do this for power. I did this for my son." Diana smiled. "Whatever helps you sleep at night." By the time Malik returned home, the house phone was already ringing. His lawyer's voice was tense on the other end. "Malik, I just received an order. Your accounts have been legally frozen. Your wife has joint control. I can't reverse it unless she agrees." Malik stood still, his mind spinning. She's not even living here anymore." The lawyer sighed. "Her name's still on the documents. Legally, she's your spouse. She didn't need your permission." Malik dropped the phone. Imani stepped forward. "Malik, what is it?" He looked at her, eyes hollow. Brianna just froze everything. Bank accounts, company shares, even the house. She owns half of everything. Imani gasped. Oh my God. He pressed his palms against his face, sinking into a chair. She's not angry anymore, she's strategic, she's going to destroy me slowly. Imani placed a hand on his shoulder. No, she's hurt. That's not the same thing. But you need to stop letting secrets drive your life, you need to face her. Malik looked up, determination flickering behind exhaustion. You're right. I'll go see her tomorrow. But deep down he knew. Tomorrow might already be too late. Because somewhere across the city, Diana was smiling to herself as she opened another email. This one not from Brianna, but from a private investigator. It read, Subject, New findings. Malik Adebayo's financial records from 2010 show one undisclosed property in the name of Imani Johnson. Should we proceed? Diana grinned. Well, Imani, what have you been hiding? The next morning arrived with thunder rumbling over Lagos. It was as if the sky itself could sense that truth was about to strike again. Malik barely slept. He sat on the couch still wearing yesterday's clothes, his laptop open, trying to contact his bank manager, his lawyer, and his business partners. But the more he tried, the worse it got. Every account he opened read the same line. Access restricted, joint authorization required. Across from him, Imani poured tea in silence. She had learned long ago that some storms needed stillness, not words. The twins were at school, and Kemi had gone to visit Baba Dele. For now, it was just the two of them in the house that no longer felt like home. Are you sure you want to see Brianna today? Imani asked softly. Maybe let her calm down first. Malik's jaw tightened. Calm down? She froze everything I built, everything I worked for. I have to talk to her. Imani placed the teapot down gently. Then talk, don't fight. He rubbed his face. You sound like my father. She smiled faintly. He was a wise man. Before he could reply, a loud knock echoed through the house. Not polite, firm, demanding. Malik frowned. Who's that at this hour? He opened the door. Two strangers stood outside, a man in a suit holding a briefcase, and a woman with a folder in her hands. Mr. Adebayo? The man asked. Yes. I'm Barrister Okan from the Federal Property Registry. We're here regarding a property ownership discrepancy involving a parcel registered under your name and that of a Ms. Imani Johnson. Malik's eyes widened. What? Imani froze where she stood. That's impossible. The female officer flipped open a document. Property address, 4A Emerald Crescent, Lekki Phase 1. Purchased in 2010. Malik turned to Imani, disbelief on his face. Imani, that's my private property, my first investment, the one I bought after our wedding. Her eyes filled with confusion and dread. I don't understand. I've never been there. The officer looked between them. Ma'am, your signature appears on the deed of ownership. Malik took the file, his voice sharp. That can't be right. She wasn't even on the documents. But as his eyes scanned the papers, there it was. Two signatures, his and hers. The handwriting was identical to Imani's. His chest tightened. How did this happen? Imani shook her head, panic rising. I swear, Malik, I don't know anything about this. I never signed those papers. The officer closed the folder. We only needed to confirm acknowledgement of joint ownership, but if there's a dispute, you can file for investigation. Malik didn't answer. His hands trembled. Thank you, he said stiffly. The officers left. The door clicked shut and silence filled the air. Imani spoke first, her voice trembling. Malik, I promise you I have no idea. He raised a hand. Stop. Malik, please. Imani! His voice cracked like thunder. Don't lie to me, not you too. Her eyes filled with tears. I've never lied to you. Why would I now? He ran his hands through his hair, pacing. That house was mine. I paid for it in cash. But now it's showing your name. Do you know what this means? Someone's been tampering with my records, and the only people who could have done that were close to me. Maybe Brianna. No, he snapped. Brianna doesn't even know that property existed. Imani stepped back, her chest tightening. Then you think I did this? That I, what? Stole your house? He looked at her, his voice breaking. I don't know what to think anymore. Her tears spilled. After everything I've been through, after carrying your children alone, after forgiving you, you still think I'd lie to you? He turned away, guilt flashing across his face. But pain and suspicion were stronger. I just need proof, he whispered. Something's not adding up. Imani's voice hardened through the tears. You want proof? Fine. Then let's find it. Together. 2 hours later, they sat in an old office downtown, across from the property officer who had overseen the 2010 transaction. An older man named Mr. Nwosu, with graying hair and tired eyes, flipped through dusty files. Yes, he said. 4A Emerald Crescent. I remember that one. Complicated file. Complicated how? Malik asked sharply. Well, Nwosu said, adjusting his glasses. You came in with your wife, back then, Mrs. Imani Adebayo, and requested to include her as co-owner. Said you wanted to protect the property in both names. Imani's eyes widened. That's not true. We never… Wait, Malik interrupted, his brow furrowed. You said I came in? Nwosu nodded. Yes, sir. You and your wife. I even remember because you insisted on signing in private instead of at the main desk. You had your own witnesses. Malik leaned forward. What witnesses? The man flipped the file again. 2 signatures. Diana James and one Mr. Oho. Imani gasped. Diana? Malik's heart froze. Brianna's sister. The room went still. Now it made sense. Why Diana had been so confident. Why she'd smirked at Imani like she knew something deeper. She'd been involved in this long before Brianna's revenge even started. Imani's voice trembled. She forged my name. Mr. Nwosu nodded slowly. It's possible, but at the time the documents looked legitimate. Malik stood abruptly. We're reopening that file. Nwosu held up a hand. You'll need legal authorization. Malik's jaw tightened. Then I'll get it. That night, back at the house, Malik sat at his desk, scanning digital archives. Every record matched. Diana's name appeared on multiple documents linked to Brianna's legal counsel and to Mr. Oho, the financial advisor. They had been planning this for months, maybe years. Imani walked in quietly. Find anything? He turned the screen toward her. They used that property to link your name to my finances. It's how they got court approval to freeze my accounts. They wanted you tied to the case, to make me look like I was hiding assets under your name. Imani's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Malik's eyes darkened. Brianna didn't just want revenge. She wanted me ruined. No, Imani said softly. Diana wanted that. Brianna's hurt. But Diana's the one pulling strings. Malik stood and began to pace. Then we fight back. I'll expose every document, every signature, every lie. Imani caught his arm. Malik, wait. He stopped. She met his eyes, firm, steady, full of quiet strength. You can't fight fire with fire. Let her see your truth, not your rage. Let her realize what she's become. That's the only way you'll win. Malik stared at her, then exhaled. You always were the calm in my storm. She smiled faintly. And you were always the lightning in mine. The next morning, Brianna received a package at her hospital room, a brown envelope with no name. Inside were printed documents, proof of forgery, screenshots of Diana's involvement, and one handwritten note from Malik. Brianna, this isn't how I wanted us to end. I know you're hurting, and I deserve your anger. But I thought you should see what your sister has been doing in your name. I don't want to fight you. I want peace for our son, for our families. We've both suffered enough. Malik Brianna stared at the papers, her pulse pounding. Each page she turned revealed more betrayal, not from Malik but from her own blood. Diana. Her eyes burned, and as thunder cracked over the city again, she whispered, "So it was never him." If you've followed this story till now, what do you think Brianna will do after discovering her sister Diana betrayed her? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.